Oh no, hey, that was a rough day at the office right there. But hey, you live and you learn, you grow. We're gonna find a way to get better from it.
Gene, go ahead.
Yeah, Tony, just thoughts on Brandon's play and kind of the offensive line and how they held up this week as compared to the.
Yeah, first for a guy that had a bunch of quarterback hits, 5 sacks, you could see that it weared on him as the game went on. He didn't trust his protection. He was moving in the pocket too much. He was throwing off his back foot. He had some wide open guys, and just felt the pressure and never could get settled to be able to go through his progressions. So overall, offensive line wise, I was disappointed in how they played because again, you got it to games like this to come up here and play this defense that's going to play you in a 5-man front. You got to win in the trenches, and we did not do that offensively.
Tony, you also, I think you said during the week, not only winning in the trenches, but your receivers would have to win those. You basically had 11 or 10 one-on-one matchups.
Yep, and we didn't win, and we're gonna have to do a better job as coaches and in preparing them and teaching them the fundamentals and the technique but at the end of the day. Playmakers got to make plays, and when you have man coverage, you have to make the contested play. And we'll look at the film, and it's hard to tell if the guy got there early or if it was bang play. But we want to win those matchups, and we got to have the mindset that we want teams to play us in man coverage. And I didn't feel like we had that mindset today at the receiver position. And those guys will get better, they'll grow. And the tough thing is, and I showed them a video last night. Kind of went back to any given Sunday in the speech in the locker room and challenged these guys. Do you have to be in jeopardy of losing something to really appreciate what you got and to put in the work? And unfortunately, hopefully this will be the catalyst that sparks us to make sure that we don't take anything for granted. And I also said last week, especially after halftime of last game offensively, is that don't look at the stats. We got a lot of room to improve. We got to get better, and can we handle success? And offensively, we did not handle success well, and there were a couple instances in practice as well, where it carried over to the game. And again, I'm trying to teach these guys how to win in everything that they do in all areas of their lives, and everything matters. And you can't take a day off, you can't take a play off. In the classroom, you got to be the same way. And so we got guys that are transitioning and changing a way of thinking, and unfortunately today we didn't have the right mindset, and that's all on me as the head coach. I didn't have the offensive guys ready to play, so I got to go back and evaluate the things that I did this week from a preparation standpoint and make sure that I correct those and give these guys the best chance to win by having them ready to play.
Were you surprised at the inability to capitalize on the turnovers early, and is there any recipe to fix that and score after?
I think that everything that we're going to see on tape is fixable. And as I told them in the locker room, it wasn't about credit to Illinois. They did what they needed to do to win the game. But if you look at it, those first couple drives in plus territory, it was on us. It was penalty. We got a bad snap. We're snapping the ball over the quarterback's head, right? We're not doing what we're supposed to do in 5-man protections when we squeeze the A gap to make sure that we throw hot off the end. So just things that we drilled all week and showed them. But you got to stay locked in. And for those guys up front, this is a great lesson for them. They're still learning each other. They're still learning how to play together. And if you're a step too late, right, it's bad. If you're a step too early, it's bad. So you got to be precise, especially with offensive football. So all the things that I saw in the game are correctable. It's just a matter of making sure that throughout the course of the week that you have the right mindset from a preparation standpoint and understand that the separation is in the preparation. And obviously we didn't do a good job as coaches in having them prepared. And then I got to challenge the staff, myself, and the players all to make sure that we own the mistakes. That we don't point fingers, that we don't try and pass the blame on anybody else, but look at the man in the mirror. And if we do that, then we'll learn from this experience, and hopefully it'll make us better going forward.
Tony, a couple of special teams questions.
Yeah.
It seems like an eternity ago, but Billy's decision to backpedal and try to run. How big was that?
Well,
At that point?
that's
Also, what happened to Sparks?
that's costly there, and just a guy. That's where when you learn how to win, you don't press, you don't panic, you don't flinch. And in credit to Billy, he's a playmaker. He just wanted to make a play, right? But he slipped, right? He's already back, on the 10-yard line. You slip, you fall down, just fair catch the ball, let the offense have possession. But now we muff the ball, Okay, and also that's going to be a great opportunity to teach. Every practice we have a 5-minute ball security circuit, and we teach the fundamentals of keeping the wrist above the elbow and why fundamentally you have to do that. And the wrist got below the elbow, boom, the balls come out. Was Billy trying to fumble? No, he wasn't trying to fumble, right? But he was trying to press too hard to make a play in that instance, and it backfired on him. So now that gives them the ball here down on the 2-yard line. Or did they score on that one? They scored on that one. So now we gave them, 7 points. So you look at the game, and they had some miscues, and there are going to be some plays that they wanted back. They turned it over 4 times, but still, you give them 7 points. You lose 24-3, and you gave up 7 points, and then you put your defense in some bad spots and kept them on the field too long. I thought in the first half the time of possession was decent. In the second half, man, we couldn't stay on the field to help our defense, and they played too many doggone plays. And eventually, they're going to give up. They're going to give up a play or two. I mean, that's too good of a football team to expect your defense to win the game, on defense when your offense is going 1 of 16 on third down.
What about Sparks?
Sparks. He had an issue. I think he got hit with the tackle, and so just precautionary, they took him out, and man, that hurt. That hurt, and man, I got to figure out how to reach Farrell. We're probably going to have to play the freshman, get him ready to go. That's going to be way too much for him to have to do field goal, kickoff, and punt if it's an extended deal. I haven't heard back on Sparks other than he was out. They're going to reassess him. They'll give me an update. But he was punting at about 46 on average, and then we go and in fairness to Farrell, he's not a punter. So he's our backup punter, and now we're punting at 30 yards. And so we were playing field position early. While the offense was sputtering, it was a field position game, and we were hanging in there hoping that, offense was going to kick into gear and just get a first down. And it seemed like each time we got a first down, the next thing you know, we got a penalty.
Happy with the game plan they got entered with on the offense? Talk about preparation.
Yeah, I'm because again it's man coverage, and in versus man coverage you're gonna have to win the one-on-ones, and we got one-on-ones, and you go back and watch the tape. That's all you can ask is to get one-on-one. Now it comes down to the fundamentals and the technique. Run game may have could have had some more quarterback run. Just to give us an opportunity to neutralize. But when you look at structurally, they're going to have 7 in the box if you got 6. You get 7. I mean, if they're going to have 7 if you got 6. If you get 7, they're going to have 8. Just with the structure. Now they did a good job. Once they saw where the offense was struggling, of doing some more variations of dropping coverage. When we were anticipating man in some of those situations, trying to run some pick and some cross routes to try and spring some guys. The thing is disappointing is they're telling you line up, come beat us. Right, and that was the mindset with these guys, and to win, I mean, that's what you're gonna have to do, especially if you want to play, late into the season. That's how it's gonna be. It's gonna be you got to win your one-on-one matchups, and we didn't do a great job, and we also got to do a better job as coaches of preparing them and giving them all the tools that they need to be successful.
What positives do you take away defensively, especially before turnovers?
Yeah, I thought in the first half the running back, they kind of kept him under control for the most part in the first half. 4 turnovers. Right, 4 turnovers. They made some key stops when we needed to have stops. They gave the ball back to the offense with opportunities and some short fields. I felt like defensively they played all 4 quarters. I felt like offensively, they continued to play, but their mindset, they kind of conceded the victory to Illinois, and that was disappointing. I can stand losing a game, but man, we're gonna fight till there's no more time on the clock, and we're not gonna concede the victory. And when we do lose, we're gonna tip our hats to the opponent, congratulate them, and then we're gonna move on. But I was a little disappointed that offensively, just some of the effort down, and really it was more confidence. You watch some of the plays on the offensive line that we just gave up. Man, we gave up too much pressure too quick, and that wasn't necessarily a lack of effort. That's more a lack of focus and just kind of being defeated before the ball snapped. And to win at the highest level, man, you have to win the play before the play ever even happens. And that's something that I'm working hard to try and teach these guys to understand, that you got to win, right, the game before you ever step on the field, or you got to win the play before the ball's ever snapped. And that's your intensity, right? That's your attention to detail. It's all the little things that you have to do, and there's going to be a lot of things that I get to coach from. So I'm obviously frustrated. Don't like losing. I felt like we definitely could have played better and made it a much better ball game. Will we win the game? I don't know, but I would love to have been in that position to find out. But there's so much from a program standpoint that I have an opportunity to teach and learn, and sometimes it takes situations where you don't have success to get people's attention. Because I was telling them all week, and those who were around the program knew that I was telling them, hey boys, you got to handle success. You got to handle success. You got to handle success. And how you handle success is you don't deviate from the process to prepare. And we didn't have the greatest practice on Wednesday, and I'm not going to say that's the number one reason why we didn't perform, but everything matters.
I was gonna say, is that your older players or your new stars?
Well, it's a combination. I mean, Brennan didn't play great. Paris, who had a big game, man, he wasn't running the ball with the same tenacity that he did. Wicks, I need you to come up with a couple of those plays. Lavelle, I need you to get open, man. I need you to get open and make a play. So it's a combination. So it's you can't blame it on the young or the old. It's offensively, it's everybody, and we got to do a better job of making sure that we own that. And these young men, they care. You can see their faces in the locker room. They care. But also, too, to win, man, winning is a mindset. That's what I keep telling them. Winning is a mindset. And to win football games, you never get it at half price, right? That's one thing I learned. You never get victory at half price. You have to pay full price. And it's not just on game day. It's everything that you've done up to game day so that you can go in with the confidence to play, but then also to make the adjustments.
Tony, any thought of keeping Brennan out in that last series after he got hit? And the pressure he's facing was just
right. So.
Best guys out there for
Well, in that case, so he had a little bit of tingling in his arm. So I was just waiting on the trainers to tell me he was good to go. Jay went in there, had a couple plays. But down there in that situation, that short field zone, man, you're gonna put the ball in your best player's hand. You're gonna try and get Brennan back in there as quick as possible. And like the frustrating thing, for coaches, and again, they got to learn. Is down there Jay on that one that we handed it off. He should have pulled it. He should have pulled it, and he walks in. There were a couple that Brandon had that we had some decide plays that we didn't make the right decisions. So like I said, hats off to Illinois, but it's going to be a hard field for these guys to watch because they're going to realize there were so many things that they could have done better to give themselves a chance, right, to be in the game in the fourth quarter to let the best team win down the stretch.